video you're about to watch has been designed to take you deeper, higher, and wider into Yahweh. Enjoy, and please subscribe. Thank you.
Father, as we step into the Spirit, where we are engaging, Father, not just with you, Father, we're loving on you. The reason we're in the kingdom of heaven is to get to know you better, is to step into a higher place of intimacy and relationship and revelation regarding who you are, regarding who we are in you. So, Father, as we step in beyond the veil, as we sit at your throne, and as we engage in you, as we love on you, Father, and as you pour into us, and as we live and move and have our being in you, we begin to understand and see who we are. But in the same breath, we get to know who you are through the engagement of the seven spirits. Father, last week, the last time we were here, we were talking about the introduction to the Holy Spirit, the fact that there's seven spirits at the throne, not on the throne, meaning that it's not the seven characteristics of Holy Spirit. That the seven spirits are seven individual spirits, seven individual beings that we can engage, that we can literally go sit with, and they will begin to teach us who we are in Christ, the position we are seated in as co-heirs with Him. And as they teach us how to be kings in His kingdom, it makes and have us grow and mature into our position, into who we are, according to our scroll, according to what is written for us as sons and daughters in Christ. So, Father, tonight, as we engage with wisdom, I pray that you'll open up the heavens doors. I pray, Father, to have her engage with us as we engage, Father, as we open up our spirit beings to allow her in, to literally take us on a journey of teaching us exactly what and where we need to go, how to become what you have destined for us. Father, we love you. We praise you. We thank you for all that you've done and who you are. I thank you for everyone that's here, Father, just the love that they have for each other and the love that is in them, that fullness of your glory that protrudes out, Father. I know that there's individuals here that's already engaging with the seven spirits, Father, and it's incredible to see. Matter of fact, I know that everyone in this room is in some way, fashion, or form busy engaging with the seven spirits. Lord, I pray they will open up to a greater measure. I pray that you will release a greater dimension of your peace and rest over us as we go deeper into all that you have for us tonight. Father, we love you, we praise you, we worship you, Yeshua. You're majestic. You honor the seven spirits. We thank you for making it available to us. As we go in, open us up, Father. In the name of Yeshua. Amen. Okay, so just to remind you guys, we are reminded that honor is the door. Right? In almost anything and everything you do in the kingdom of heaven, honor is the door. Whatever you honor will open up for you. That's why we stand in front of the throne of Yahweh at the courts, and we honor. That's praise. We begin to honor and exude that which we see in the Spirit, and that opens up the doorway. The more you bring honor to Yahweh, the more He opens up to you. The more you bring honor to the seven spirits, the more they open up to you. Now, I've said this several times, and I want to say it again. We do not worship the seven spirits, so do not feel in your heart that if you engage with the seven spirits, you're taking from Yahweh. I've said this several times. You cannot take from Him. Right? That's kind of logic. You many times said, oh, well, I don't want to take glory from God. You cannot take glory from God, no matter who you are. No, you think you are, but you can't. It's impossible. And like I said this morning, it's just not on the table. God's glory is not on the table for anybody. Satan can't have it. These demons can't have it. There's no power, principality, or dragon, or giant that can have it. No human being can have it. He can give it to us, like He did to Yeshua. Like He said, now glorify me like I glorified you. That's exactly what He'll do. He'll bring glory to you as you glorify Him. But you cannot take of His glory. Right. So last week we kind of just discussed the idea behind the seven spirits, understanding that there are seven spirits and that their place in the kingdom of heaven is there to teach you, to guide you, to bring you to a place of understanding your sonship. Right? So the Father's desire is, like we read the scriptures in the beginning. Let's see if I can find it. Now it's in Galatians 4. Now I say to the heir, as long as he is a child, does not differ at all from a slave, though he is master of all, but under guardians and stewards until the appointed time by the Father. And I believe that's where the ecclesia is at right now. I said this morning as well. So the difference between the church and the ecclesia is this. The church has Jesus living inside of them. That sounds really great, and it is great. But the problem with that is that's where it stops. So every word, every dimension of what he said, all that we engage in is just on this side of the veil with him and me. The ecclesia has him in us and we're in him. So we go to a higher dimension. That's where we take the word that says I'm seated in him in heavenly places and actually physically go there as a spirit being. Because I said it when I came in here, you can believe according to what the word said you're seated in heavenly places, but only once you actually see yourself seated in heavenly places are you in heavenly places. That's the logic of it. So we understand the seven spirits are there to teach us, train us, and I know that the church has not really been taught this. As a matter of fact, we've been taught that the seven spirits are seven attributes of the Holy Spirit. But of course, we also gone through this last time we were doing this. The Bible tells us that the seven spirits are at the throne. Holy Spirit is God. He's Yahweh. He's not at the throne, he's on the throne. And we understand that it's called baked in. It's the 3 and the 7 that represents the governance of the heavens. Okay. So they are part of the governance, part of the baked in of the heavens. They are part of the leadership. That's why if you'll see with wisdom tonight, wisdom was with Yeshua at creation. Right? So they are ancient beings. They are of the first that he created. And then from there, of course, he began with the angelic canopy. And we're beginning to understand now that the angels are innumerable. It's not something you can count. And the way we understand this, the Bible talks about it being stars in the heavens. Now, in this galaxy alone, there's billions of stars. They have found that in the beginning it was 300 billion galaxies. Then it changed to 900 billion galaxies. Then before they began to count more galaxies, they changed their opinion regarding it being universe, saying that we actually have universes. So it's a multiverse. Then they started counting up again and found that there is between 2 and 3 trillion galaxies. Now, to begin to even try and bring a number to the amount of stars that will be in all these galaxies is impossible. And each one of these stars is allocated to an angelic being, whether it's fallen or whether it's still in light, which is innumerable. So we begin to understand that the Father has an infinite understanding of creation. And when he begins something, it doesn't stop because of his power and who he is. And of course, he lives out of time and space, so we think, well, where in the cosmos is all the space for all the angels that he's created, and all the living beings, and all the creatures that's out there that he's created. But of course, we understand that when he begins to open himself up, there's no limitation to who he is. The seven spirits is of the main leadership within the kingdom of heaven, and it is their responsibility to go to and fro in the earth, finding sons and daughters that is ready and willing to be trained and taught. So are they looking for seers? I have people always asking me, saying, well, I'm a seer, I've got the gift of seeing. No, it's not a gift of seeing. Everyone is a seer. But the fact of the matter is when you get born again, you see. So if you get born again, you can't see, maybe you should get born again. Right? Because that's what happens when you get born again, you can see. And of course, we haven't been able to see because we haven't been taught how to see. And now we've gone through the process of being taught how to see, so 90% of the ecclesia should be able to see. And matter of fact, the ecclesia can see. It's the church that still kind of struggles with seeing. So it's moving from the church age into where we are today. It's a high dimensional shift, deeper into the things the Father has for us. So it's a wider place. I love wisdom. She's one of the first seven spirits that I walked with. The Bible tells us that she's female. And I know women love that. It's like, of course she's a woman. It doesn't help me much. My wife's name is Claire, and it means clear and clever. And of course, she knows everything. And she is incredibly wise. I know that she's walked with wisdom many, many times already. So what wisdom does is she brings us to that place in our walk where she equips us for the position. That she's a dimension of the wisdom of Yahweh that gets poured into us. But you have to go to her. She is not going to come to you. I don't understand that. And many of these seven spirits work like that, because if they come to us, then you don't have to be able to see. Then you'll just begin to walk with them. But that's not how it works. You have to engage them. You have to desire in your heart to really become what the Father has destined you to be, for them to begin to engage in your life. And it's not something that happens according to, well, I want to walk with wisdom, and you just go walk with wisdom. It will be an additional desire in your heart that pops up as you grow and mature in the things that Yahweh has for you. Okay. In Zechariah, I think I might have read the scripture to you about before, but I'm going to read it again. If you walk in my ways, and if you will perform my services, then you will also govern my houses and have charge over my courts. I will grant you these access among those who are standing here. And that the Father's desire with that scripture is to get us to understand that he wants us to govern his house. He wants us to be in charge of his courts. He said it already. He wants us to co-heir with him in all of creation. Now, our understanding of creation is that which is in the earth, because that's what we are bound to. But all of creation means everything he created. And that includes everything that we know, according to what the Bible says, is out there. Which means Satan has no right, because we are meant and created to govern him. Amen. And the governance that comes to him is nullification and destruction. That he has no rights. He made his decision, and the rest of creation has to fall in line with who we are. That's why the Father is training and equipping a people that will understand where we walk and who we are. That we are not mere sinners, trying to make it in this world, struggling with everything, sick and dying church that can't do anything, that has no power. The Father is raising up a people that are signs and wonders. Exciting, right? Yes. Okay. The religious is saying, if you want to turn into your Bibles, but let's not do that. My Bible's same as yours, maybe not quite. But in Proverbs 8, when you engage in Proverbs 8, when you physically go into it, that's kind of how you engage with wisdom. When I start reading, you'll understand what I mean. She literally reveals to you where she is and what she does. I'm just going to read it, and then we'll go deeper into it. Does not wisdom call, and does not understanding put forth a voice? She stands, this is it. She stands in the top of high places, by the way in the places of the path. She cries in the gates before the entrance of the city at the doors. To you, O men, I call, and my voice is to the sons of man. O simple ones, understand wisdom, and fools, be of an understanding heart. Hear, for I speak in excellent things, and the opening of my lips shall be right things. For my mouth shall speak truth, and wickedness is hateful to my lips. All the words of my mouth are in righteousness, nothing twisted or perverse is in me. They are all plain to him who understands, and right to those who find knowledge. The funny thing, if you listen to her speak, she always talks about understanding, talks about knowledge. And further on, she talks about might. It's like she envelops all of the seven spirits because they kind of work together. Let me see where I am now. They are all plain to him who understands, and right to those who find knowledge. Receive my instruction and not silver, and knowledge rather than choice gold. For wisdom is better than rubies, and all the things that may be desired are not to be compared to it. I, wisdom, dwell with sense. Other translations will say prudence. And find out knowledge of discretions. Some of the translations will say, I walk with prudence, and she gives out witty inventions. That's kind of the idea. I don't know, this is a modern King James translation. We've kind of lost some of the original intent of what was said, but it's easier to read believe and thou, because that kind of doesn't make any sense when you read it out loud. It's like, I am not Romeo. I dwell with wisdom, with sense, and find out knowledge of discretions. The fear of Jehovah is to hate evil. I hate pride and arrogance, and the way and the evil way, and the wicked mouth. Counsel and sound wisdom are mine. I am understanding. I have strength. By me kings reign, and princes decree justice. Princes rule by me, and nobles. All the judges of the earth. I love those who love me, and those who seek me early shall find me. It sounds a little bit like Jesus, right? So if you listen to this and you think, oh, wow, this must be Jesus. As a matter of fact, I've had people say, no, wisdom is actually Jesus. But I need to understand that's not true. Of course, wisdom has attributes of Yahweh in her because she was created of him, just like us. She's not in his image, but she's got a full dimension of Yahweh's wisdom in her. And that progresses into part of his character. That's why the church would go as far as to say that it's the 7 characteristics of the Holy Spirit. Riches and honor are with me, enduring riches and righteousness. My fruit is better than gold, yes, than fine gold, and what I give is better than choice silver. I lead in the way of righteousness, in the midst of the path of judgment. I make cause those who love me to inherit riches, and I will fit their treasures. Jehovah passes me from the beginning, possessed me from the beginning of his way, before his works of old. I was anointed from everlasting, from the beginning, before earth ever was. I like that. This is just kind of describing who she is. She's talking and she's reflecting to whoever reads it who she is. Oh, I lost my spot. When there was no depth, I was brought forth. When there were no spring or heavy water, I was there. Before the mountains were settled, before the hills, I was brought forth. Before he had made the earth, or the fields, or the highest part of the dust of the earth, I was there. When he prepared the heavens, I was there. When he set a circle upon the face of the deep, when he set the clouds above, when he made the strong fountains of the deep, when he gave to the sea its limits and the waters should not pass his command, when he appointed the foundations of the earth, even I was a workman at his side, and I was daily his delight, rejoicing before him, always before him, rejoicing in the world, his earth, and my delight was with the sons of man. And now listen to me, O sons, for blessed are those who keep my ways, hear instruction and be wise, and do not refuse it. Blessed is the man who hears me, watching daily at my gates, waiting at the posts of my doors. For whoever finds me finds life, and shall obtain favor from Yahweh. But he who sins against me wrongs his own soul. All who hate me love death. Interesting. Now we're just going to kind of break it up and see how Yahweh wants us to engage so we can become true sons and begin to change and form into that likeness that he has set out for us. That's exciting, right? Exciting. Yeah. So she stands in the top of high places, by the way in the places of the path. She cries at the gates, at the entry of the city, and the coming in at the door. So if you're looking for her in the kingdom of heaven, you'll find her at the city, by the gates, in the way of the path. And where is she? But it's just to reflect that she's in the kingdom of heaven, the third heaven, which we understand as to be Dimo, the full supply of heaven. But it's not here. It's not on this side of the veil. You cannot engage with any of the 7 spirits on this side of the veil. I can engage with them personally as friends to get to know them on the inside of me. But when they have to teach me, to guide me, I have to go into the kingdom of heaven where they begin to reflect in me who I am. She is to project in you the true son, true daughter that you are. Unto you, O men, I call, and my voice is to the sons of men. So she's not going to teach or equip anybody that's not walking in sonship. Now that's part of what I mean when I say she's there for the ecclesia, not the church. And that kind of could be confusing because the church and the ecclesia is really the same thing, but the difference is what I said earlier. The church only has Jesus on the inside. The ecclesia has him on the inside and is inside of him. So we operate inside, beyond the veil, right? She equips us for position, and of course Solomon is a prime example of the spirit of wisdom fully manifested on the face of the earth. It is the Father's desire to have you manifested in wisdom in the earth. It's not for when you die one day, it's for right now. Yes. It's to have the ability and the capacity to operate in the fullness of wisdom. Now as a gift, you have word of knowledge, word of wisdom, right? But as one who walks in the Spirit, that door stays open. That's why Yahweh could know the things he knows. That's why he could say the things he said. Because the door of wisdom was open for him because he engaged with him many, many times. And I said this last week, we understand from his baptism to him being on the Mount of Transfiguration was him walking with the 7 spirits. By the time he got to the Mount of Transfiguration, he's walked with all 7 of them, and Yahweh is engaged with him to such an extent where he said, now here, listen to him. But also understand that from his baptism to the Mount of Transfiguration was only a couple of days before his crucifixion. They didn't have much time for him to listen to him, right? But it's the Father wanting to bring us to that place where we are equipped for the position that we're called to, and reminding you that your position is not just for this time, this living in the earth. It's an eternal purpose. It's more than what we've having. He's training us for what we need to become when we're in the kingdom of heaven, and that's our only abode. O ye simple, understand wisdom, and ye fools, be of an understanding heart. Hear, for I will speak of excellent things, and the opening of my lips shall be right things, for my mouth shall speak truth, and wickedness is an abomination to my lips. The spirit of wisdom equips you for the position, and produces prosperity and delight towards God. It is the Father's desire to bring you to a place where everything you do in your life brings joy to Him. I need to understand. I mean, it's not about works. It's about who you are. You know, if I look at my sons, it's not so much what they do that pleases me. Some of the things they do pleases me, and some of the things they do don't please me. But I never change the amount of love I have for it because of what they do. It's who they are that I love. And I believe the Father wants to bring that across to the body of Christ, where we begin to understand that He doesn't love you for what you do. He loves you for who you are. And so as we begin to find ourselves in the position that we are meant to be placed in, we understand His love. But before you're in that position, when you're operating on this side of the veil, you want to please Him by what you do. And of course, that's not really what He wants. I wouldn't want my son to do things to please me. It would be nice, but I want him to know first that I love him no matter what he does. Okay, so the Spirit of wisdom will equip you for the position and produce prosperity and delight towards God. It's His desire to bring you to a place of prosperity. Not just financially, but to bring you to a place where every part of your life, mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, socially, you are prospering. You're in a place of wholeness. Mm-hmm. For wisdom is better than rubies. So you have to be in the right place to believe that. Because of our problem as the body of Christ is the love of money, right? We have to understand that when you begin to engage with the seven spirits, you have to be in a different mindset. That the things of the world can no longer hold you. Because if it can hold you, then you won't really want to engage to the level. You will rather want the things that comes with engaging it. So your motivation is out. So he says, wisdom is better than rubies, and all the things that may be desired are not to be compared to it. I, wisdom, dwell with prudence, and find out the knowledge of witty inventions. So, for example, those little things at the end of your shoe, your shoelace. Anybody knows what it's called? Anyway, that's a witty invention. That guy put that on the end of the shoelace and made billions of dollars. He's selling billions of it all over the earth every single day. A friend of mine, and we've heard, I've engaged with what he did already. He's got the book up here, Aaron Smith. He has been engaging with wisdom, and one day, out of the blue, the Father said, go get a piece of paper. He got a big piece of paper, and the Father said to him, now start making dots. Now he's just being obedient. He doesn't know anything. He starts making dots. And then the Father says, okay, connect the dots. And he starts connecting the dots. And 5 years later, he's got an invention that could reach up to $600 billion. And we can't even begin to fathom it. It's bigger than what we can even understand. It's nanotechnology. We try to explain it to us once, and it's like, what? No one really understands. He knows, and his team knows exactly what they're doing. But it's just something that we cannot fathom, because I'm not engaging into it. But I know that Ian Clayton once made a statement in one of his teachings. He said, whoever invents the wheel within a wheel will be a billionaire. And it will come out of the ecclesia. It will be part of the church. And before I knew it, I went in the Spirit, started engaging with it because I wanted to know what that is. And the Father said to me, it's the technology I used to create. And He said to me, the one that will design this, the one that will bring this into fruition in the earth, I already know. So I didn't know who that was until I went to the meeting where this young man and his team took us on a tour around the business to show us what they do. And I realized this is the wheel within the wheel. This is the technology the Father used in creation, which is incredible. Now, we don't understand that, but that's what happens when you really engage with wisdom. She opens up doorways because her desire is to prosper you in all your ways. That's exciting, huh?
Yes.
She's there to show you how to seek first the kingdom of God. I understand, that's easy to read and perceive, but it's not so easy to do. 6:33, Matthew 6:33. Seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things will be added unto you. What things? You know, about riches. Well, no, that's not the Father's heartbeat. The Father doesn't care about you being rich. He doesn't have a problem with it, and your position of authority will bring you to the place of prosperity that you need to be at to walk in what is yours. But his focus is not money. Right? Matter of fact, his focus is the opposite. He wants you to engage in the heavens and become rich there. We've done that, glorified soul, body, and spirit. To bring that into the earth, to begin to understand that your primary being has to be engaging in the riches of heavens. That's what it said. Focus, meditate on the things above. They are all plain to him that understands, and right to them that kind of knowledge. Receive my instruction and not silver, and knowledge rather than choice gold. See, his desire is for you to engage the kingdom of heaven and to understand why that is primary above everything else. Because we've been birthed into the earth, and all we know is what we physically see, what we physically touch. But when we begin to engage in the spirit, we begin to see the reality of what's really out there for us to have and what belongs to us. It changes everything. I always say this. In the ministry of Yeshua, everything we read in the Bible, mostly the four Gospels, that's his ministry on the earth. That's what was spoken, that's what was done, and that's what's written down. But if we begin to understand, that's only 5% of his ministry. Because if you engage it in the spirit realm and you go into the places where he did ministry, you'll begin to understand the things he did in the spirit. That was much more powerful than the things he physically did. So we're looking at the miracles, the signs, and the wonders, and that's what we want to focus on. But in the spirit realm, which we only really now have access to, because we're beginning to understand that we are spirit beings that can go into time and space, that can go into the dimension that the Father was operating in at the time that he was working at it. Now that we go in there, we begin to see what he was really doing. Things that wasn't seen. Things that his disciples couldn't see or understand. You guys okay?
Yes.
Spirit of wisdom also teaches us how to judge and how to bring justice. See, we have to get to the place in our walk where we understand what it means to be a king. It's difficult for us to understand kingship because we don't have a kingdom. Maybe it's easier for people in England or in Europe or even in Africa. Africa has many kings. Matter of fact, inside Africa there's a nation called Soweto. Soweto, no, it's not Soweto, it's Lesotho. Soweto is a city. Lesotho is a city or a country within our nation that has a king and a queen. And it's called a kingdom. So it's the Lesotho kingdom. They have their own currency and they have a king and a queen. So they will have a greater understanding of what it means to be a king. The king brings judgment. And of course the king wants to bless his city. He wants to bless his kingdom so his judgment is to life. That's the idea of judgment. We've always understood judgment to be death and destruction. So that's our mentality. That's what we're afraid of. We don't know God, so we believe that his judgment is to bring destruction and destroy. It's never his desire. It's never what he wants. When he was talking to, who was it? It was Lot. Lot was the uncle. Who was the other guy? Anybody? But he was saying, Lord, if there's 10 people that's righteous, will you save the city?
Yeah.
Abraham, yeah. So he says, if there's 10 people, and the Lord says, yes, but there isn't. So his desire was never to bring destruction. His desire was never to bring that upon the city. It's not in his heartbeat. He wants to propel to life, but in the same breath wants to get a company of people that's ready to understand their seat of authority, so that we can begin to judge. Because the problem in the ecclesia is that we've been running away from judgment. Because we have a mentality, a Greek mentality, that says, well, judgment is to death. So I can't judge my brother because in the measure that I judge him, I'm going to be judged. But I don't understand. If I judge you with a positive attitude to life, then that's the way I'm going to be judged. And of course, we begin to understand that judgment is not always negative. And if I run a race and I come first, I climb onto the podium, I'm going to get judged. Right? I'm going to get judged. And the judgment is going to be positive. It's going to be to life. He's the winner. Congratulations. Or we see judgment as he's guilty, kill him. Judgment is death sentence. Or we'll bring a hurricane, or we'll destroy the city. That's what God does because of the sin of the people. How do you understand? God doesn't see the sin of the people. Oh, well, Yeshua's blood doesn't cover everybody. It only covers those who believe in him. Rubbish. The Father looks at creation through the eyes of Yeshua. And when we begin to understand that, judgment changes. Of course, he wants to teach us exactly what we need to know regarding judgment. Because in essence, when you begin to sit on your throne, an interesting photo was taken of me. My wife took it while I was busy preaching. As one has got a big picture of a crown, big crown with a key. And the way I was standing, it looked like the crown was resting on my head. So when she sent me the photo, I put it on Facebook and I said, me ministering from out of my position as a king. And as a king, you bring judgment. As a king, as a leader, you want to propel those who you are king over to a high place. And that's the Father's heartbeat. That's the Father's desire. Because as co-ed ones, as kings in this earth, ones with dominion and authority, having to get to the place of our maturity where we begin to govern creation back into alignment, we have to be able to judge. But understand that your judgment is to life. We understand judgment in the courts. When I go into the court, I agree with the enemy. I repent. Ask the Father to forgive me. Then I go to the throne where Yahweh, my Father, the judge, will begin to judge me. But because I'm in him and he overshadows me and he's my covering, when he judges me to life. So the judgment that comes from Yahweh to me is to propel me, to take me to a higher place, to open up doorways, gateways, to put me into my place of authority and to run me into all of who I am. But that exact same judgment then goes to the enemy. And because the enemy is not in him, because the enemy is not covered by him, the enemy is getting the same judgment, but that judgment is to destruction and nullification. So he needs us to get to the place where we begin to know what it means to judge. Now when I judge you so that I can bless you. As a matter of fact, prophecy is judgment. Right? So I prophesy over you. The idea of prophecy is for it to be encouraging, for it to uplift you, for it to bless you, and encourage you with the word of Yahweh. So when I speak a word over you, it's judgment. When I discern in your life things that's right or wrong, it's judgment. No, you can't do that. Well, the Bible says even one of the gifts is discernment. And well, do I discern only demons? No, I discern what's of God, what's not of God. I discern where you're at in life and how the Father wants to propel you. My judgment is what lifts you up. That's what a king does. Well, who are you? Who do you think you are? You can't judge me. Only God can judge me. No. God's desire is for us to judge. You know, when my body is in pain, my whole body stops. You know, if I hurt my toe, everything else stops and focuses on that problem. My body judges my toe. It judges my toe so it can be healed. It will set water retention in to protect it. It will do all kinds of things to bring it back to where it's supposed to be. And that's kind of what the body of Christ begins to understand when we engage our judgment as kings. The idea is to propel you to a higher place. My judgment is to bring you to a place of Zoe life, which is the fullness of God life. Yeah. It teaches us how to exercise these things as sons from the throne that we have been given to rule in. Now, I love this because I was kind of talking about this morning. One of the steps we take as sons, one of the dimensions of freedom that comes to us, is that we get to sit on our throne, and that which is not supposed to be there has been eliminated. The Father wants to get you to the place where you know what was given to you to rule. That's why your scroll and finding your scroll is so important, because his desire is for you to find your dimension of rule that was given to you in the day as your scroll was read. Does that make sense? Yes. It says, the fear of God, the fear of the Lord is to hate evil, pride and arrogance in the evil way. and the forward mouth do I hate. Counsel is mine, and sound wisdom. I am understanding, I am strength. So it's his desire to bring you, when you engage with wisdom, she will open up the dimensions of your life that needs to be aligned. It's not about Holy Spirit telling you what's right and what's wrong. It's you getting to a place. See, by the time you start walking with the seven spirits, you've gone through deliverance. You're no longer the same person. Your plan has died. You have, on this side of the veil, walked through everything that you could possibly walk through. The Father has set you apart. You've been wholly set apart. You understand the Word. You've engaged the Word. But now you're going to a higher place. You know, if you look at Joshua, the high priest, he gets presented to the Father, and remind yourself, he's the holiest man in the nation. There's no one as holy as the high priest, and yet he was filthy rags. But he had to get his clothes stripped off, and new robes was given. A new turban was put on his head. Why? Because you go to a higher level, a different dimension of purity. So at this point, the Father is beginning to take the thoughts and intent of your heart to a higher place. He begins to open you up and to reflect the image of Yahweh in you to its full extent. That's what wisdom gets us to. It gets us to that place where we understand who we truly are in Him. It teaches us how to bring divine order and authority into the spirit realm, and how to bring divine justice out of it. See, we don't understand divine order, but the Father wants to get us to a place where we have revelation regarding that which takes place in the heavens. That's why everything we do in the kingdom of heaven is there for us to legislate into the earth. That's why the Father wants you to walk with the seven spirits so they can teach you. And what I've noticed for myself, every time I walk in front of the seven spirits, I get assigned a certain mandate to do certain things in the earth. And it's so that I can begin to understand the order, the divine order that I have to bring into creation for it to align. So sometimes I will walk with wisdom, and she will take me into the earth, and I will see a dragon. Then I will be taken by might into the court of war, and I will be assigned an understanding of how to deal with this dragon. I will then go into the court of angels, and I will have angels assigned to me so that they begin to show me what needs to happen with this dragon, so that we can take the mountain back and align the angelic canopy back to it and start managing or governing it into the earth as it's meant to be. Releasing the revelation back into the hands of the ecclesia instead of out of the mouth of Satan. My breath is running out. If you're wondering, what did you do? My breath is running out. It's not that bad. It's not as bad as what it sounds. So it teaches us how to bring divine order and authority into the spirit realm. Remind yourself there's two spirit realms. The spirit realm within the kingdom of heaven doesn't need authority. Right? It is a place where you are in complete rest and peace in Yahweh, where He pours into you, where all things are revealed and all things are seen. But when I have come from the kingdom of heaven into the kingdom of earth, spirit realm, I have authority over everything that's there. And of course the Father wants to teach us through the seven spirits how to bring that authority into perfect order. That's when we start taking back what doesn't belong to the enemy. That reminds me of Moses when he took Aaron's staff and he threw it on the floor and it turned into a snake. Right? Mm-hmm. Then the king says, well, that's funny because, my guys can do the same thing. So they come in, they throw their staffs on the floor and it turns into snakes. But then what happens? The Bible says that Aaron's staff swallowed all the other staffs in. Meaning that God basically took back the power that was in the enemy's hands. And I believe that's what He wants to do with the ecclesia. We have, this day belongs to Satan. This sport belongs to Satan. That month belongs to Satan. That section of creation belongs to Satan. We just have this understanding of our religious perception that Satan has ownership of some aspects. We went as far as to say that Satan has a kingdom. How many of you understand he does not have a kingdom? Right? The only kingdom that's out there is the kingdom of earth, and it doesn't belong to him. But because we never occupied it, we never took up our authority, we never took what was ours, he stole it. So he called it his own. I said this before. If I had to steal this iPad from Ronnie, how many of you understand, no matter what I tell people, Look at my new iPad. Isn't it nice? I love this iPad. It's got thousands of books on it. It's got the Bible on it. It's just great. I use it for everything I do. Now I switch it off. No. And I can call it mine as much as I want to. But he's going to find out that this is actually his iPad, and then I'm going to be in trouble. It will never be my iPad. I know it's a weird example, but that's how I understand that no matter what, this will never be mine. Eventually I'm going to have to either give it back to him, or I'm going to be in trouble, I'm going to go to jail, because it's theft. Now we begin to understand that Satan has a kingdom at hand, but it's not his. And we're taking it back. And I believe that the Spirit of wisdom teaches us how to do that. How to bring that divine order and authority into the spirit realm, back into the earth. To bring the justice that's needed for us to kind of operate in the ones with dominion and authority of the earth. Okay. By me kings reign and princes decree justice. By me princes rule and nobles, even all the judges of the earth. I love them that love me, and those who seek me early shall find me. The more you engage with her, the more you understand your kingship. The more you engage with her, the more you understand justice and how to rule as a judge. You begin to understand that the Father has opened up to you a dimension of rulership that's beyond the natural. That's where the fivefold steps up into the Melchizedek order. Where I'm no longer an apostle, no longer a prophet. I step into the realm of the kingdom of heaven, where I am becoming a son. Not a child of God, a son or daughter. I grow into that position as a son. I grow into that position as a king, as a priest, as a oracle, one who speaks out of the mouth of God. That will be reflecting that of a prophet, but yet I don't speak when I hear the voice of God. I speak as the voice of God. And of course, I grow into becoming a legislator, where I bring the things that I see in the heavens into the earth. That's part of the Father's design for us. It teaches us what to do in the realm of rulership as a son. The Lord possesses me in the beginning of his way, before these works of old. I was set up from everlasting, from the beginning, or ever the earth was. Oh, no, that's not right. I was set up from everlasting, from the beginning, before the earth was. The Father's desire is for us, in engagement of wisdom, to begin to see how to rule as a son, not just in the earth, but in the kingdom of heaven. Because we look at the kingdom of heaven, we see, well, it's God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Spirit, Yahweh. There's place for us within the Godhead, which we haven't begun to understand yet. There's a place of growth that needs to take place in our hearts to step into that position. But yet we also then see the seven spirits, we see the angelic canopy, we see how it runs and the order of it, and we cannot for the life of us see ourselves in that place of rulership, co-ed with him. We've never believed that it's possible for us to be in that position, running the heavens with him. But as we walk with wisdom, the desire is for us to begin to understand who we were created to be. That position is available for us to engage. And of course his desire is then to legislate that ability into the earth, so that we as the sons of Yahweh can begin to govern the earth, to rule and have rulership in the earth as we're meant to. I said this thousands of times. Our president cannot run the nation. As a matter of fact, none of the presidents or the kings in this world can run the nations of the world better than what we can. And of course the problem is we haven't taken what's ours. Now, I'm not going to govern the nations in the natural. I'm not going to become the president, and I don't want to become the president. But the Father has given me certain nations, certain parts of nations, certain sections of certain cities to govern and to do certain things in. That's written on my scroll. And if each of us starts doing what we're supposed to do, then things will fall into place for the nations of the world. The governance of the ecclesia brings the earth back into full fruition. How are you guys doing? I know what you're thinking. I'm fine. Spirit of wisdom releases contentment and joy, not only for you, but also for those who are around you. Engaging with wisdom is literally there to propel you in every dimension of life. To have you understand that the joy that you are meant to be to the Father comes when you engage with wisdom, because she reveals to you the mysteries and the secrets of the things that brings joy to the Father. Because it's your maturity, it's the daily growth that takes place in you when you engage. And it's not just engagement in the seven spirits, it's finding yourself in the heavens daily. Because like I said before, as soon as you step in, no matter what you're doing in the kingdom of heaven, it brings joy to the Father. Because that's his position, that's where he's called you to walk. He's created you to be in that place. Because of sin, that we were kicked out, but it's his desire for us to come back in through the blood of Yeshua. Right? Then I was by him, as one brought up with him, and I was daily his delight. See, engaging with wisdom brings you to that place where you are daily his delight. Rejoicing always before him. Rejoicing in the habitable parts of the earth. And my delight were with the sons of men. Now therefore, hearken unto me, O children, for blessed are they that keep my ways. See, when you start engaging with wisdom, and I know that some of you have done this already, she literally begins to show you, in essence, exactly what you need to do. Because when I started engaging now, before I saw my scroll, I was already engaging with wisdom. And she basically directed me into the ways that I needed to go in. As I went into what she opened up for me, things started getting the direction that I was needed to get to the place where I could take my scroll and read it. Because most people would go into the court of scrolls, eat their scroll, but they have no understanding of it. But she led me and directed me in such a way that by the time I got my scroll, I was already presented to Yahweh as a living sacrifice. And I wasn't presented to him at the throne, I was presenting myself to him as a living sacrifice in the garden. That's where he lifted me up and opened up my chest, and all this black stuff came out. As he was cleaning me out, as he was presenting me. And in this time, the scroll started opening up. Now, I don't say that's the protocol, but as far as I can understand, the protocol of reading your scroll is to present yourself to Yahweh as a living sacrifice. After you've eaten the scroll, but that opens everything up, and then you begin to see what needs to be seen regarding that which is written. How are you guys doing? Good. Let me just see. The Father, through wisdom, wants us to begin to also understand that as you engage with her, everything that opens up for you is the heart of God. Meaning that everything that wisdom carries comes out of Yahweh. You have the ability, the capacity to understand creation. I believe, and I might be wrong, but this is just something I've seen in the Spirit. When Moses went into the kingdom of heaven, one of the engagements he had in the 40 days was walking with wisdom, where she opened up creation for him and showed him exactly what happened and took place. He comes back and he knows everything in detail. I've experienced going into wisdom, and she would just open up my heart, and I would begin to see things of my life in the future. And I believe that the Father's desire in this is so that we can live in our tomorrow. Because if you live in your tomorrow, your today can't affect you. And of course, through the lack of time and space, engaging through the light, when I operate in in the spirit realm, I get to deal with my past so that my today can look different. But my today is according to my tomorrow, if that makes any sense. So the idea is that I live in my tomorrow, today, and my yesterday is dealt with. Because if you look at your life, things that happened in your past affected you and changed the way you think, changed the way you understand things, got you to believe certain things, and so you find yourself in a mess. Not everybody, but most of us. If I could live in my tomorrow, my yesterday cannot affect my today. That's why we go into the mobile court according to the things that happened in our yesterday and deal with it. And I believe, for me personally, that's what wisdom taught me. She showed me how to project who I am into the kingdom of heaven, see what's the problem, deal with it in the courts, shut access, come back into my tomorrow so that my today can be according to who I am in my past or in my future. If that makes any sense. How are you guys doing? Okay. I believe that what we are meant to do with wisdom is bind her to you for 21 days. Meaning that if you already, last week we were just talking about the seven spirits, today we're engaging with them. So what I would urge you to do is bind yourself to one of the seven spirits. It doesn't have to be wisdom. I believe that for me personally, I got led to wisdom first, but everybody doesn't get led to wisdom first. There's many other spirits that we can get led to. We've done the seven spirits, but the idea is that you find yourself engaging with one of them for at least 21 days. So it's not just a weekly thing. We've got 2 weeks before we get together again, but the idea is to carry on with this as long as hard as you possibly can, because the desire of the Father is for you to engage as long and as hard as you can. It's not taking anything from Him. As a matter of fact, what the seven spirits are called to is to propel you into a deeper place with Him. So for the next couple of weeks, it will be your responsibility to engage into wisdom or counsel or might or the Spirit of the Fear of the Lord, or whichever one is on your heart to engage. And the Father will open it up for you and begin to reveal to you what needs to be known. Okay, let's stand. Father, we just want to glorify and magnify you. I want to thank you for your seven spirits, Father. Thank you for who you are. Thank you for what you're bringing into us. Thank you for each and every single one of the seven spirits, Father, the power that they bring, the position they place us in, the engagement, Father, that changes our lives. I know that for myself, it has changed my life. I have become friends with each one of them. I have gotten to know aspects of them that is blowing me away. But in the same breath, they have propelled me into a deeper intimacy with you. That's the only focus that they have, is to bring you to the position that you're meant to be in Christ. So Father, tonight I ask that everyone in this room will be propelled deeper. As we walk with wisdom, let us be opened up. May everything that she has carried for us be brought into us. May we grow into every dimension that she's made available to us. Let's also understand that your desire for us is to mature, so that we can become the kings in your kingdom that we're meant to be. We have to grow into your body, become united as one being, and operate fully out of you. So Father, I ask you to open our hearts up. We begin to understand what happens when we start ruling from the kingdom of heaven into the earth as fully mature sons, as walk with the seven spirits. Begin to understand the rulership that we have, that we carry in you, and what happens when a full mature sons bring that rulership into the earth. It takes over the mountains, begins to occupy the full space of revelation, begins to breathe Yahweh's breath into the earth, and alignment takes place in creation. So there's much that needs to take place for everything to fall back into alignment. It's in our hands as we choose to go in and engage with the seven spirits. Father, we love you, we honor you, we thank you, we praise you. We're excited about what's happening. We thank you for everything you're releasing, for everything you're opening up to us. In the name of Yeshua, we ask that you will lead each and every one of us to a deeper place as we engage with the seven spirits. In the name of Yeshua. Amen.